Dr. Kethvar sat at his desk in the medical center of New Geneva Station, carefully cleaning his four-handed surgical tools. His blue scales caught the soft light as he worked, each movement precise and practiced. The Zephyrian had been a veterinarian for over 20 years, treating creatures from dozens of different worlds. He thought he had seen everything. The communication device on his desk buzzed with an incoming emergency call. He pressed the answer button with one of his upper hands while continuing his work with the others. "This is Dr. Kethvar. How can I help you?" A human voice came through the speaker, shaking with panic. "Please, you have to come quickly. My companion is badly injured and bleeding everywhere. The other vets won't take the case. They say it's too dangerous." Kethavar's scales rippled with concern. He had heard about human companion creatures from other doctors on the station. Dark whispers in the medical corridors spoke of savage beasts, with teeth like razors that humans somehow kept as pets. Most alien veterinarians refused to treat them. They were too unpredictable, too violent, too much like the wild predators from humanity's death world. "What type of companion are we talking about?" Kethvar asked, though he already suspected the answer. "A dog," the human woman replied. "His name is Charlie. Please, I'm begging you. I can't lose him." Kethvar felt his breathing slow. A dog. The most feared of all human companions. His colleague, Dr. Zixtal, had once told him about a dog that had supposedly attacked a maintenance worker just for walking too close to its human. Another doctor claimed these creatures could bite through metal with their powerful jaws. "Ma'am, I need to be honest with you. I have never treated a dog before. They have a reputation for being quite aggressive." The woman's voice broke. "Charlie isn't aggressive. He's gentle and sweet, and he's hurt so bad. I found him trapped in a cargo bay door when I got home from work. There's blood on the floor and he can't stand up properly. Please, Dr. Kethvar, you're the only vet on the station who hasn't already said no." Kethvar looked around his clean, safe office. Through the window, he could see other aliens going about their daily business on the station. None of them had to deal with dangerous Earth predators. None of them had to make this choice. But he was a doctor. He had taken an oath to help injured creatures, no matter what species they were or where they came from, even if it meant facing one of the galaxy's most feared animals. "What is your name, ma'am?" "Lisa Martinez. I live in Section C7 of the human residential area. I will be there in 20 minutes. Try to keep your companion calm and don't move him unless absolutely necessary." "Thank you so much, Doctor, thank you." The call ended, and Kethvar sat in silence for a moment. What had he just agreed to do? His assistant, Piptik, a small furry creature from the Quillen homeworld, looked up from organizing medical supplies. "Doctor, did I hear correctly? Are we going to treat a human dog?" "Yes, Piptik. Get the emergency medical kit ready." Piptik's large eyes grew even larger. "But doctor, everyone knows how dangerous those creatures are. My cousin works in the station security office. He says they keep special containment units just in case a human dog goes wild and attacks someone." Kethvar had heard the same stories. Dogs that could run faster than hover cars. Dogs with night vision better than most military equipment. Dogs that never forgot a scent and could track someone across an entire planet. The more he thought about it, the more his scales began to change color with anxiety. "We are medical professionals, Piptik. An injured animal needs our help." "Yes, doctor, but what if it tries to bite us? What if it sees us as threats?" "I heard from Dr. Velthorn that human dogs can sense fear. If they smell that we're afraid, they become even more aggressive." Kethvar finished packing his medical scanner and pain medication. "Then we will simply have to be brave." They left the medical center and walked through the station corridors toward the human residential section. Other aliens they passed seemed to sense where they were going. A group of mantoid traders clicked their mandibles in what Kethvar recognized as sympathy. A crystalline merchant actually stepped aside and said, "May your essence find peace, Doctor." As they got closer to the human section, Kethvar noticed fewer and fewer non-humans in the corridors. Most aliens avoided this area unless they had specific business there. The humans seemed friendly enough during the day, but everyone knew they kept their dangerous animals here. "Doctor," Piptik whispered as they walked, "what if the stories are true? What if human dogs really are as dangerous as everyone says? Kethavar had been wondering the same thing. He had done research on Earth animals before, and the facts were frightening. Dogs were descended from wolves, pack hunters that had terrorized prey animals for millions of years. Humans had somehow convinced these predators to live with them, but that didn't mean they had lost their killer instincts. The environmental controls in the human section were set to Earth normal, which meant the air was thicker and more humid than Kethavar preferred. His scales began to feel sticky, and the unfamiliar atmospheric mixture made him slightly dizzy. "Doctor, listen," Piptik said, stopping suddenly. Kethavar focused his sensitive hearing. There it was, coming from somewhere ahead of them. A low, rhythmic sound that could only be the breathing of a large predator. Deep, powerful breaths that spoke of strong lungs and a big chest. The kind of breathing that belonged to a creature built for hunting. "That must be it," Kethavar said quietly. "The dog." They found the correct door marked C7. Before Kethavar could press the call button, the door opened. A human woman stood there, and her eyes were red from crying. She was shorter than most humans Kethavar had met, with dark hair pulled back from her face. This had to be Lisa Martinez. "Dr. Kethavar, thank you so much for coming. I was so afraid no one would help us." Behind her, Kethavar could hear the sounds more clearly now. Heavy breathing, occasional whimpering noises, and something that might have been claws scratching against the floor. His medical training told him these were signs of an animal in pain, but his survival instincts whispered warnings about trapped predators being the most dangerous of all. "Where is the injured animal?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Charlie is in the bedroom. I made him as comfortable as I could, but I was afraid to move him too much in case something was broken." Another human appeared from what looked like a kitchen area. This one was taller, with broad shoulders and the kind of build that suggested physical strength. Humans were already intimidating enough without their dangerous pets. "I'm Jake Sullivan," the man said. "I live next door to Lisa. I helped carry Charlie inside after the accident." He looked directly at Kethavar with those unsettling, forward-facing eyes that all predator species had. "Doc, I have to warn you about something. Charlie is pretty worked up from the pain. He might not react well to strangers right now." Kethavar felt his scales go completely cold. A pain-crazed predator that didn't like strangers. This was exactly what every alien veterinarian on the station had warned him about. But he was here now, and an injured creature was depending on him. "I understand," he said, gripping his medical kit tighter. "Let me see him." Lisa Martinez led Dr. Kethavar and Piptik through her living quarters. The space looked normal enough for human housing. Clean walls, standard furniture, family pictures on shelves. But the sounds coming from the back room made Kethavar's scales ripple with fear. Heavy breathing echoed down the hallway. Not the quick, panicked breathing of a small, injured animal, but the deep, powerful breaths of something large. Something that had lungs built for chasing prey across long distances. Between the breathing sounds, Kethavar heard occasional whimpering and what sounded like claws scraping against the floor. "He's in the bedroom," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "I found him like this when I got home from work. There's so much blood." Jake Sullivan stayed close behind them. His presence should have been reassuring, but Kethavar knew that humans were pack hunters just like their companion animals. If the dog decided to attack, Jake would probably join in the fight. "How big is Charlie?" Kethavar asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "He's about 60 pounds, Lisa replied. "Medium-sized for his breed, 60 pounds of muscle and teeth and claws." Kethavar had treated injured animals before, but never anything that could easily overpower him. His own species, the Zephyrians, were built for intelligence and fine motor control, not physical combat. His 4 arms gave him advantages with delicate medical work, but they wouldn't help him escape from an angry predator. Piptik was walking so close behind Kethavar that he kept bumping into the doctor's legs. The small Quillen was obviously terrified, but he was still doing his job. Kethavar felt proud of his assistant's courage. "Doctor," Piptik whispered in their native language, "maybe we should call station security before we go in there." "No," Kethavar replied quietly. "If we bring security, they might decide the animal is too dangerous and put it down." We're here to save its life, not end it. They reached the bedroom door and the sounds got much louder. The breathing was rapid. Now and there were new noises, low rumbling sounds that might have been growling. The scratch of claws became more frantic. Whatever was behind that door knew they were coming. Is he always this vocal? Kethvar asked. Jake and Lisa looked at each other with worried expressions. Not usually, Jake said. Charlie is normally pretty quiet, but he's in pain and he doesn't know you. He might be feeling defensive. Defensive? That was exactly what Kethvar was afraid of. A defensive predator was a dangerous predator. He had read reports about Earth animals that would fight to the death when they felt cornered. If Charlie decided that Kethvar was a threat, there might not be any way to calm him down. Maybe I should go in first, Lisa suggested. Let him see me and hear my voice. That might help him stay calm when you enter. Kethvar nodded. That made sense. The dog would be less likely to attack if his human was there to control him. He hoped. Lisa reached for the door handle, and Kethvar prepared himself for the worst. His medical training had taught him about the fight or flight response that injured animals experienced. Flight was impossible for a trapped animal, which meant Charlie would probably choose fight. The door opened slowly. The first thing Kethvar saw was blood. Not pools of it like he had expected, but spots and smears on the floor near a pile of soft blankets. His medical scanner automatically began analyzing the blood patterns. Strange. The amount and distribution didn't match what he would expect from a serious injury. Then he saw Charlie. Kethvar's world suddenly shifted. Every story he had heard, every warning from other doctors, every fearful whisper in the medical corridors crashed against the reality in front of him. The creature lying on the blankets was nothing like what he had expected. Yes, it was clearly from Earth. Yes, it had the basic body structure of a predator. But this was not the savage beast that had terrorized his imagination. Charlie was covered in golden fur that caught the room's soft lighting. His ears were long and floppy, hanging down beside his head in a way that looked almost comical. His tail, which had been making soft thumping sounds against the floor, was nothing like the rigid, aggressive appendage Kethvar had imagined. It was fluffy and moved in what could only be described as hopeful gestures, but it was Charlie's eyes that completely destroyed every preconceived notion Kethvar had carried. Large, brown, and filled with an intelligence that seemed almost human, they looked up at the group with an expression that was unmistakably hopeful. Not aggressive, not defensive, not predatory, just hopeful, and tired, and in pain. This is Charlie, Lisa said softly, kneeling beside the injured animal. He's a golden retriever. Charlie's tail moved faster when he heard Lisa's voice, creating a gentle thumping rhythm against the blankets. The sound that Kethvar had mistaken for aggressive scratching was actually the dog's tail wagging against the floor. I don't understand, Kethvar said, his voice barely above a whisper. The reports, the warnings, everyone said these creatures were dangerous predators. Jake chuckled, though Kethvar could hear the relief in his voice. Dangerous? Charlie here is afraid of vacuum cleaners. Watch this. Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object that squeaked when he pressed it. The moment Charlie saw the toy, his entire body language changed. His tail wagged faster, his eyes brightened, and he made soft whining sounds that were clearly expressions of joy, not aggression. He wants to play, Jake explained. Even injured, he still wants to play. That's just how dogs are. Piptic finally spoke up, switching to the common galactic language. Doctor, I believe there has been a significant misunderstanding in our cultural database. Kethvar approached slowly, his medical scanner in hand. Charlie watched him with curious eyes but showed no signs of fear or aggression. As the doctor got closer, he could see that the terrible injuries Lisa had described were actually quite minor. A small cut on Charlie's front paw that had bled more than it should have because the dog kept licking it. Some bruising on his leg where it had been caught in the cargo door. Nothing that required major medical intervention. The breathing I heard, Kethvar said, mostly to himself. That's how dogs cool themselves when they're stressed. Exactly, Lisa confirmed. Dogs don't sweat like humans do. They pant to regulate their body temperature. Charlie was panting because he was nervous and in pain, not because he was preparing to attack anyone. As Kethvar began his examination, Charlie lay perfectly still. Occasionally, the dog would lift his head to lick Kethvar's hands with a warm, wet tongue. The gesture was so gentle, so trusting, that it made the doctor's scales change color with embarrassment. All those stories, Kethvar murmured as he worked. All those warnings about human companion animals. People fear what they don't understand, Jake said. Dogs have been living with humans for thousands of years. They're not wild predators anymore, they're family members. Charlie seemed to understand that Kethvar was trying to help him. When the doctor needed to examine the injured paw more closely, Charlie held perfectly still even though it clearly caused some discomfort. When Kethvar accidentally bumped against the bruised leg, Charlie just looked at him with those expressive brown eyes as if to say he understood it was an accident. "This is remarkable," Kethvar said, applying a mild pain medication to Charlie's injuries. "His stress levels decrease when you're close to him, Lisa. And look at this." He showed her the scanner readings. "His heart rate is elevated, but not from aggression or fear. These readings suggest emotional attachment. He's worried about you because you're upset." It was true. Every time Lisa moved away from Charlie's side, the dog's vital signs showed increased stress. When she returned and spoke to him in soothing tones, everything normalized. This wasn't the behavior of a dangerous predator. This was the behavior of a creature that genuinely cared about his human's emotional state. The galaxy has completely misunderstood what dogs are, Kethvar realized aloud. They're not predators that humans have somehow tamed. They're partners, emotional companions. As if to prove his point, Charlie struggled to lift his head and gently nuzzled against Lisa's hand. The gesture was so clearly affectionate that even Pip-Tick made a soft sound of wonder. "Doctor," Pip-Tick said quietly, "I think we need to revise a lot of assumptions about human companions." Dr. Kethvar finished cleaning Charlie's injured paw while the dog lay quietly on his blankets. Every few minutes, Charlie would lift his head to look at Lisa, as if making sure she was still there. When their eyes met, his tail would give a few gentle wags before he settled back down. "I need to understand something," Kethvar said, carefully wrapping Charlie's paw with medical tape. "Everything I have been told about dogs suggests they are dangerous predators, but Charlie here seems more like a companion animal from any peaceful world." Lisa smiled for the first time since Kethvar had arrived. "That's because he is a companion animal. Dogs stopped being wild predators a long time ago. We've been partners with them for over 15,000 years. 15,000 years? Pip-Tick's voice was full of amazement. "Doctor, that's longer than most species have had space travel." Jake sat down on the floor next to Charlie, who immediately tried to move closer to him despite his injured leg. "Dogs were the first animals humans ever domesticated. We didn't tame them by force. We became partners. They helped us hunt and we shared our food with them. Over thousands of generations, we bred them to be loyal and gentle." Kethvar paused in his work. This was completely different from what the galactic databases said about human companion animals. According to those records, humans had somehow forced dangerous predators to live with them through intimidation and control. "But the reports," Kethvar said. "Other doctors have told stories about aggressive behavior, attacks on station personnel." "What kind of attacks?" Lisa asked, looking confused. Kethvar thought back to the stories he had heard. Dr. Zixtal said, "A dog attacked a maintenance worker who got too close to its human." Jake started laughing. "Attacked? Or did the dog try to say hello? Dogs are social creatures. When they see new people, they want to meet them. Maybe the maintenance worker thought friendly behavior was aggressive behavior." To demonstrate, Jake made a clicking sound with his tongue. Charlie immediately perked up and started making soft whining sounds while his tail wagged faster. To Kethvar's eyes, it looked like the dog was trying to communicate something. "What is he doing?" Pip-Tick asked. "He's asking to play," Lisa explained. "Even hurt. He wants to interact with us. That's what dogs do. They're social animals." Kethvar watched Charlie's behavior more carefully. The sounds he was making weren't aggressive at all. They were requests for attention. The way he moved his body, even with his injured paw, suggested he wanted to be closer to the humans in the room, not drive them away. "This changes everything," Kethvar said quietly. "If dogs are actually social companions, then most of what we believe about them is wrong." Lisa reached into a container near Charlie's bed and pulled out what looked like a small bone-shaped treat. Charlie's entire body language changed instantly. His ears perked up, his eyes focused on the treat, and his tail began wagging so hard that his whole back end wiggled. "Good boy, Charlie," Lisa said, offering him the treat. "You're being so brave for the doctor." Charlie took the treat gently from her hand, being careful not to accidentally bite her fingers. He chewed it slowly, clearly enjoying the taste. When he was finished, he looked up at Lisa with an expression that could only be described as grateful. "He's thanking you," Kethvar observed. "That's emotional intelligence." "Dogs are very smart," Jake confirmed. "They understand human emotions better than most humans do. Charlie always knows when Lisa has had a bad day at work. He'll bring her his favorite toy or just sit close to her until she feels better." As if responding to his name, Charlie looked directly at Kethvar. The doctor expected to feel afraid, but instead he found himself curious. Charlie's eyes held intelligence, but also something else: trust. Despite being in pain and surrounded by strangers, Charlie trusted that they were trying to help him. "Can I try something?" Kethvar asked Lisa. "Of course." Kethvar slowly extended one of his 4 hands toward Charlie. The dog sniffed it carefully, then gave it a gentle lick. His tongue was warm and wet, and the gesture felt unmistakably friendly. "Remarkable," Kethvar whispered. "He's accepting me as part of his social group." "That's what dogs do," Lisa said. "They don't see differences in species. If you're kind to them, they're kind to you. Charlie doesn't care that you have 4 arms and blue scales. He can tell that you're helping him, so you're his friend now." Piptik had been watching everything from across the room. "Doctor, may I try approaching him?" "Go slowly," Jake advised. "Let him see you coming and don't make any sudden movements." Piptik crept forward on his small legs. Charlie watched the Quillen with curious eyes but no signs of fear or aggression. When Piptik was close enough, he extended one furry paw toward Charlie. Charlie sniffed Piptik's paw, then gave it the same gentle lick he had given Kethvar. Piptik's entire body posture changed from nervous to amazed. "He's so warm," Piptik said in wonder. "And his tongue is so soft. I expected something much more frightening." "Most of what the galaxy thinks about dogs is based on fear and misunderstanding," Lisa explained. "People hear that they're descended from wolves and assume they're still dangerous. But dogs have evolved alongside humans. They're nothing like their wild ancestors." Kethvar finished treating Charlie's injuries. The dog would need to rest for a few days and avoid putting too much weight on his injured paw. But there was nothing seriously wrong with him. As Kethvar packed up his medical equipment, Charlie watched him with sleepy but attentive eyes. "Will he be all right?" Lisa asked. "He'll be fine," Kethvar assured her. "Keep the bandage clean and dry. Give him these pain pills if he seems uncomfortable. He should be back to normal in about a week." Charlie seemed to understand that the treatment was over. He struggled to his feet, favoring his injured paw, and walked slowly over to where Kethvar was kneeling. Before the doctor could react, Charlie gently pressed his head against Kethvar's leg. "He's saying thank you," Jake interpreted. "That's how dogs show affection and gratitude." Kethvar felt something strange happening to his emotional centers. This creature, who he had expected to be a dangerous predator, was showing him genuine affection. Charlie wasn't just tolerating the medical treatment. He understood that Kethvar had helped him and was expressing appreciation. "I have to ask," Kethvar said. "Are all human companion animals like this?" "Most of them," Lisa replied. "Dogs especially. We've bred them for thousands of generations to be loyal, gentle, and intelligent. They're not just pets to us. They're family members." Charlie had settled back down on his blankets, but he kept looking between Lisa and Kethvar. Even though he was tired from his ordeal, he seemed reluctant to let the doctor leave. It was as if he wanted to make sure this new friend would come back. "Doctor," Piptic said quietly, "I think we need to tell the other veterinarians about this. If dogs are actually this gentle and intelligent, then refusing to treat them is wrong." Kethavar nodded. "More than wrong. It's based on complete misinformation. Charlie here has shown more emotional intelligence and social awareness than many, supposedly civilized species I've encountered." As they prepared to leave, Charlie gave a soft whine. Lisa knelt down beside him and scratched behind his ears. "It's okay, boy. The doctor will come back to check on you in a few days. You're going to be just fine." Charlie's tail wagged weakly, and he settled down with a contented sigh. His eyes were already starting to close as the pain medication took effect. Walking back through the station corridors, Kethavar felt like he was seeing everything differently. How many other assumptions about humans and their culture were based on fear and misunderstanding? If the galaxy had gotten something as basic as companion animals completely wrong, what else were they missing about humanity? "Doctor," Piptic said as they reached the medical center, "what are we going to tell the other veterinarians?" Kethavar thought about Charlie's trusting eyes, his gentle acceptance of strangers, his obvious love for Lisa. "We're going to tell them the truth. Dogs aren't dangerous predators. They're some of the most emotionally intelligent creatures I've ever encountered, and any doctor who refuses to treat them is missing out on working with truly remarkable animals." 3 days later, Dr. Kethavar returned to Lisa's quarters for Charlie's follow-up appointment. This time he brought more than just medical equipment. He carried a small recording device and a data pad filled with questions. What he had learned about dogs was so different from the official records that he wanted to document everything properly. Lisa opened the door with a smile. "Dr. Kethavar, Charlie has been so much better. Come see." As they walked into the living area, Kethavar heard familiar sounds, but now he understood what they meant. The soft padding of feet on the floor wasn't a predator stalking prey. It was Charlie walking carefully on his healing paw. The gentle panting wasn't aggressive breathing. It was just how dogs stayed cool. Charlie appeared around the corner, moving, much more easily than before. When he saw Kethavar, his tail started wagging immediately. He walked straight up to the doctor and sat down, looking up with those intelligent brown eyes. "He remembers you," Lisa said with obvious pleasure. "Dogs have excellent memories for people who are kind to them." Kethavar knelt down and extended his hand. Charlie sniffed it briefly, then gave it a welcoming lick. The doctor's scales shifted to a warmer color pattern, something that happened when Zephyrians felt happy. "His paw looks much better," Kethavar observed, gently examining the healing injury. "The swelling is completely gone." While Kethavar worked, Jake arrived with another human Kethavar hadn't met before. This new person was a woman with graying hair and laugh lines around her eyes. "Dr. Kethavar, this is my neighbor Amy Chen," Lisa said. "She heard about what happened and wanted to meet you. Amy has 2 dogs of her own." Amy smiled and nodded respectfully. "I've been wanting to thank you, Doctor. The other vets on this station won't treat dogs at all. You probably saved Charlie's life by being willing to help." "I almost didn't come," Kethavar admitted. "I believed all the stories about dogs being dangerous." "A lot of people do," Amy said sadly. "It makes life on the station hard sometimes. When my dog Max got sick last year, I had to take him all the way to Earth for treatment because no one here would help." This troubled Kethavar greatly. "You had to travel to another star system for basic veterinary care?" "It's not uncommon," Jake explained. "Most alien doctors are too afraid of dogs to treat them. Some humans have stopped bringing their dogs to space stations because of it." Kethavar felt ashamed. How many dogs had suffered because of medical ignorance? How many families had been separated because vets like him had been too afraid to do their jobs? "I want to understand better," Kethavar said. "Can you show me how humans and dogs actually interact? I need to see this for myself." Lisa pulled out her personal communication device. "I have lots of videos of Charlie. Would that help?" For the next hour, Lisa and Amy showed Kethavar recordings of their dogs. He watched Charlie playing with human children, his movements gentle and careful despite his size. He saw Amy's dog Max helping carry groceries, walking calmly beside his human without any restraints. "This is incredible," Kethvar said, watching a video of Charlie alerting Lisa to her door being left open. "He's actually helping with household security." "Dogs are naturally protective of their families," Amy explained. "But it's not aggression, it's love. They want to keep their humans safe." In another video, Charlie was playing with a cat. The dog was obviously much larger and stronger than the cat, but he played gently, never using his full strength. When the cat got tired, Charlie lay down so they could continue playing at the same level. "He's controlling his strength," Kethvar observed. "He understands that smaller creatures need gentle treatment." "That's one of the most amazing things about dogs," Lisa said. "They're incredibly aware of size differences. Charlie plays completely differently with children than he does with adult humans. He knows how to adjust his behavior for every situation." Piptic, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up from his data pad. "Doctor, this suggests a level of social intelligence that rivals most sapient species." Amy nodded enthusiastically. "Dogs can read human emotions better than most humans can. Watch this." She called out to Charlie, who was lying contentedly near Lisa's feet. "Charlie, where's your toy?" Charlie immediately perked up and looked around the room. He walked over to a corner and picked up a small rope toy, bringing it back to Amy. But instead of just dropping it, he sat and waited patiently for her to take it from his mouth. "He's following complex verbal instructions," Kethvar said in amazement. "And he's showing impulse control. He wants to play, but he's waiting for permission." "Dogs understand hundreds of human words," Jake added. "Charlie knows the names of all his toys, the words for different types of food, and commands for dozens of behaviors. He even understands some concepts like later and gentle." To demonstrate, Lisa said, "Charlie, gentle kisses." Charlie approached Kethvar slowly and gave his hand the softest, most delicate lick imaginable. It was completely different from his normal, more enthusiastic greeting behavior. He modified his behavior based on a verbal instruction, Kethvar marveled. He understands abstract concepts. Amy pulled out her own communication device. "Let me show you something really special." She activated a video call and soon the screen showed another human woman sitting in what looked like a garden. "Hi, Mom," Amy said. "I want you to meet Dr. Kethvar. He's the vet who helped Charlie." The woman on the screen smiled and waved. "Thank you so much, Doctor. Amy told me all about you." But what fascinated Kethvar was Charlie's reaction to the video call. The dog had wandered over when he heard voices, and when he saw the screen, his tail started wagging. He made soft whining sounds and pawed gently at the device. "He recognizes her," Kethvar said in wonder. "Even through electronic communication, he knows this is a familiar person." "Dogs can recognize faces on screens," Amy explained. "Charlie loves video calls with my mother. Sometimes she'll call just to talk to him." As if on cue, Amy's mother said, "Hi, Charlie. Are you being a good boy?" Charlie's whole body wiggled with excitement. He made happy whining sounds and gave the screen a gentle lick. "This is remarkable," Kethvar said. "He's forming emotional bonds with individuals he rarely sees in person. That level of social complexity is extraordinary." The video call ended, but Charlie continued to stare at the device for several minutes as if hoping Amy's mother would return. His behavior showed clear understanding that the communication device could connect him with distant friends. "Doctor," Piptic said quietly, "we need to completely revise our understanding of human companion animals. These aren't tamed predators. They're genuine partners with advanced social intelligence." Over the next few hours, Kethvar documented everything he observed. Charlie's ability to read human emotions, his complex communication skills, his gentle interaction with smaller creatures, and his obvious capacity for love and loyalty. Every behavior pattern contradicted the fearful stories that had spread throughout the station's alien community. As the visit wound down, Amy made a suggestion that surprised everyone. "Doctor, would you like to meet my dog sometime? Max and Ruby are different breeds, so you could see how varied dogs can be." Kethvar's scales shifted to an excited pattern. A few days ago, the thought of meeting more dogs would have terrified him. Now he was genuinely curious to learn about different types of canine companions. "I would very much like that," he said. "I'm beginning to realize that dogs might be the most misunderstood species in the galaxy." As he prepared to leave, Charlie walked over and sat beside him one more time. The dog looked up at Kethvar with those expressive eyes, and the doctor could swear he saw gratitude there, not just for the medical treatment but for taking the time to understand what dogs really were. "Thank you," Kethvar said to Charlie, gently scratching behind the dog's ears. "You've taught me more about interspecies relationships than 20 years of medical training." Charlie's tail wagged softly, and he gave Kethvar's hand one final gentle lick before settling back down beside Lisa. Walking back to his office, Kethvar realized that his understanding of humans had changed just as much as his understanding of dogs. Any species that could form such deep, lasting partnerships with another species was far more emotionally sophisticated than the galaxy had given them credit for. Word spread through New Geneva Station faster than Dr. Kethvar had expected. Within a week of treating Charlie, his communication device buzzed constantly with calls from other alien medical professionals. Everyone wanted to know the truth about the human companion animals that had terrified them for so long. Dr. Velthorn, the pompous crystalline physician who had always refused to treat dogs, arrived at Kethvar's office first thing in the morning. His crystalline body structure made clicking sounds as he moved, a sign of nervous energy. "Kethvar, I need to understand what happened," Velthorn said without any greeting. "The entire medical community is talking about your dog encounter. Some are saying you've lost your professional judgment." Kethvar looked up from his medical reports. "Would you like to meet a dog yourself? I think direct experience would answer your questions better than my explanations." Velthorn's crystal formations shifted to a darker color, indicating fear. "Absolutely not. Those creatures are dangerous predators. One moment of carelessness, and they could attack." "That's exactly what I thought too," Kethvar said calmly. "I was completely wrong." Before Velthorn could respond, Kethvar's communication device chimed with an incoming call. It was Amy Chen. "Dr. Kethvar, I hope I'm not bothering you, but Max is acting strangely today. He keeps pawing at my storage closet and whining. Could you take a look at him when you have time?" "Of course. I'll be right over." Velthorn overheard the conversation. "You're going back to treat another one of those creatures? Would you like to come with me?" Kethvar asked. "See for yourself what dogs are really like?" The crystalline doctor hesitated. His scientific curiosity was clearly fighting with his fear. Finally, curiosity won. "I'll observe from a safe distance." They traveled to Amy's quarters together, with Velthorn maintaining what he considered a safe distance behind Kethvar. When Amy opened the door, her dog Max immediately appeared beside her. Max was larger than Charlie, with thick black and brown fur and alert pointed ears. Velthorn stopped walking entirely. "That thing is enormous," he whispered. Max looked at the two alien doctors with curious but friendly eyes. His tail wagged, gently, and he made a soft sound that was clearly a greeting. "Max, sit," Amy said, and the large dog immediately sat down, though his tail continued wagging against the floor. "He's following verbal commands," Velthorn observed, staying well, back from the door. "Max is a German Shepherd," Amy explained. "They're working dogs, bred to be intelligent and loyal. Max, say hello to the doctors." Max gave a single soft bark and tilted his head to one side. The gesture was so clearly friendly that even Velthorn relaxed slightly. "What did you want?" "Me to look at?" Kethvar asked. Amy led them to a storage closet. Max immediately ran over and began pawing at the door, whining softly and looking back at Amy with obvious urgency. "He's been doing this for hours," Amy said. "I've checked inside twice, but I don't see anything wrong." Kethvar opened the closet and examined it carefully. The space looked normal, filled with cleaning supplies and personal items. But Max continued, his agitated behavior, pawing at one specific area near the back wall. "May I scan this area?" Kethvar asked, pulling out his medical scanner. The device immediately began beeping rapidly. "There's a gas leak," Kethvar said urgently. "A small one, but it's been building up in this enclosed space. Max detected it with his sense of smell. Amy's face went pale. A gas leak? That could have been dangerous for the whole residential section. Max saved not just your life, but potentially dozens of lives, Kethavar said. Dogs have incredible senses. They can detect things that even our medical equipment might miss if we weren't looking for them specifically. Velthorn, who had been watching from the hallway, stepped closer. The animal detected a danger that could have harmed multiple beings, and he was trying to warn his human. That's what dogs do, Amy said, kneeling down to hug Max. They protect their families and their communities. Max doesn't just care about me. He cares about everyone in this section of the station. As if to prove her point, Max walked over to where Velthorn was standing and sat down politely. He didn't jump or bark or show any aggressive behavior. He simply sat and waited, as if offering his friendship to the nervous alien doctor. He's not afraid of me, Velthorn said in wonder. Even though I'm a completely different species, he's treating me as a potential friend. Dogs don't judge by appearance, Amy explained. They judge by behavior and intention. Max can sense that you're not a threat, so he's being friendly. Slowly, very slowly, Velthorn extended one of his crystalline appendages toward Max. The dog sniffed it carefully, then gave it a gentle lick. Velthorn's entire color pattern shifted to bright, amazed hues. His tongue is warm, Velthorn said in surprise, and the gesture feels affectionate. After reporting the gas leak to station maintenance, Kethavar and Velthorn returned to the medical center. The crystalline doctor was unusually quiet during the walk back. I've been wrong about dogs, Velthorn finally admitted. Completely, utterly wrong. That creature, Max, he potentially saved hundreds of lives today, and he was gentle with me even though I was afraid of him. Will you help me spread the truth about dogs? Kethavar asked. More than that, Velthorn replied. I want to learn how to treat them properly. If creatures that intelligent and caring need medical attention, they deserve the best care we can provide. Over the following days, more and more alien medical professionals came to observe dogs in their natural environment. Dr. Zixtal met Charlie and was amazed by the dog's gentle nature. A young mantoid veterinarian named Kliktar was fascinated by the complex communication between dogs and their humans. But the real breakthrough came when Amy suggested something that surprised everyone. Why don't we set up a demonstration area? She proposed. Somewhere safe where alien doctors can meet different types of dogs and learn about them properly. Lisa loved the idea. We could invite all the human families on the station who have dogs, show everyone that dogs aren't dangerous predators. Within a week, they had organized the first ever human-canine cultural exchange in one of the station's large meeting rooms. Families brought their dogs, and alien medical professionals came to observe and learn. Kethavar watched in amazement as a tiny chihuahua named Peanut played fearlessly with a massive Great Dane called Bruno. The size difference should have resulted in disaster according to old beliefs about predatory behavior, but instead the two dogs played together with obvious joy. An elderly human man named Frank Rodriguez sat quietly in a corner with his therapy dog, a calm golden retriever named Honey. Several alien doctors observed how Honey seemed to sense when Frank was feeling tired or stressed, automatically moving closer to provide comfort. This is remarkable, said Dr. Hithara, a Quillan physician. The dog is providing medical support without any training in Quillan physiology. She's responding to universal signs of distress. Young human children ran around the room, playing with dogs of all sizes. The dogs were incredibly careful with the small humans, adjusting their play style to match each child's energy level and size. Look at this, Piptik said to Kethavar, pointing to a corner where a 5-year-old human girl was reading a book aloud to a patient border collie. The dog is listening to her read. He's actually helping her practice. The most impressive demonstration came when Jake arrived with Charlie, who was now fully healed. Charlie had learned a new trick during his recovery period. Jake placed several objects on the floor, including Kethavar's medical scanner. Charlie, bring me the doctor's scanner, Jake said. Charlie looked at all the objects carefully, then picked up the correct device and carried it gently to Jake. He had learned to identify specific tools by name. Incredible, Velthorn said. He's demonstrating problem-solving abilities and tool recognition. By the end of the day, every alien medical professional in the room had been gently licked, wagged at, and accepted by multiple dogs. The fear that had kept them from treating these animals for years had completely evaporated. Kethvar stood at the front of the room as the event wound down. "I have an announcement," he said. "Effective immediately, I'm establishing the first interspecies veterinary training program on New Geneva Station. Any medical professional who wants to learn how to properly treat human companion animals is welcome to join." The response was overwhelming. Nearly every alien doctor in the room signed up immediately. As families began packing up to leave, Charlie walked over to Kethvar one last time. The dog sat politely and offered his paw for a handshake, a trick Lisa had taught him specifically for saying goodbye to the doctor. Kethvar gently shook Charlie's paw with one of his 4 hands. "Thank you, Charlie. You've changed how the galaxy sees dogs and humans." Charlie's tail wagged, and he gave Kethvar's hand one final friendly lick before trotting back to Lisa. Later that evening, Kethvar updated the station's official xenobiological database. He changed the entry for dogs from dangerous predator, approach with extreme caution, to intelligent companion, approach with open heart and mind. As he submitted the changes, Kethvar realized that this was about more than just dogs. If the galaxy had so completely misunderstood something as fundamental as the human-animal bond, how many other aspects of human culture were being judged incorrectly?